A few years ago, I embarked on a road trip with my ex-boyfriend through the remote outskirts of Cagayan de Oro in the Philippines. Known for its rugged terrain and isolated roads, Cagayan de Oro offered us a scenic yet eerie journey. Our GPS unexpectedly rerouted us off the main highway onto a narrow, poorly maintained road as dusk settled in. The landscape grew more desolate, with thick foliage enclosing us on either side. The solitude was unnerving. There were no other vehicles in sight, and the only sounds were the hum of our engine and the whisper of wind through the trees. Approaching a quiet intersection, we encountered a broken-down car parked squarely in the middle, its hazard lights flashing in the dimming light. Instinctively, I urged my boyfriend not to stop. "Keep going," I urged, my voice betraying my anxiety. He hesitated briefly but obediently brought the car to a halt at the stop sign despite my protests. As soon as we stopped, the doors of the broken-down car swung open, and three men emerged swiftly, their gaze fixed on us with intent. Panic surged through me. "Go, now!" I shouted, my heart racing. Reacting quickly, my boyfriend slammed his foot on the gas pedal, and our car surged forward. Glancing back in the rearview mirror, I saw one of the men reaching for something, reflecting in the fading light. It could have been a weapon. Fear gripped my mind. More figures seemed to emerge from the shadows of the surrounding jungle, stepping onto the road near the car. Their movements were deliberate, like predators closing in on prey. It became chillingly apparent that this was an ambush. They had been lying in wait, ready to ensnare and harm unsuspecting travelers. We sped down the narrow road, adrenaline pumping through our veins. I kept looking back, half expecting to see them chasing us, but they remained at the intersection, watching as we made our escape. The further we drove, the safer I felt, but the fear lingered, gnawing at my senses. After what felt like an eternity, we reached a small village. The sight of lights and people was a relief, but the encounter had left us shaken. We reported the incident to local authorities, who listened gravely. They had heard similar reports, travelers falling victim to traps on isolated roads, often ending in violence. That night, in a roadside inn, the memory of those men and the figures emerging from the jungle haunted my thoughts. The darkness outside seemed thicker, more ominous. Every rustle of leaves, every creak of the building made me jump. In the days that followed, our journey continued, but the carefree spirit of our road trip was gone. We remained vigilant, always on guard for what might lurk around the next turn or in the next village. The once inviting countryside now felt like a foreboding maze. To this day, the memory of that encounter sends shivers down my spine. The thought of those men, waiting in the shadows to ambush and harm anyone who crossed their path, is a nightmare that won't fade. Whenever I see dense jungle now, I can't help but think of what might be hidden within, waiting silently, ready to strike. If you find yourself traveling through the isolated roads near Cagayan de Oro, stay vigilant. There are dangers in this world that can strike unexpectedly, lurking just out of sight, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce.